Framework-wise, this is going to be run in a similar way to the last panel. We'll let the participants give their presentations, and then we'll submit questions using Slido during their presentations, and we'll take the Q&A at the end. So with that, our director and CEO.
All right, good morning. Is it still morning? Is everybody awake? I love these types of sessions here because we start off strong and very enthusiastic, and then just before lunch, everybody starts to wane off. So can we get a little bit more excitement here? Is everybody okay? Good morning. Thank you. There's not a better place to be on a Friday at 12 o'clock. So sorry, Gabe, I missed your introductory remarks, though. But just as background, Gabe and I go way back. I admire Gabe. Gabe is a fighter for transportation, a fighter for people, and kind of a mentor of mine. So, Gabe, great to see you and appreciate what you've done for me throughout the career. So we do have a opportunity to provide some updates here for some of our projects, and I'm going to run through a quick slide deck, and then, of course, looking forward to the Q&A. So this session is really about the way in which we are building out our transportation system and providing more resilient and adaptable infrastructure to move people as efficiently as possible. And one project that we're very proud of, which we just opened up, is a intermodal hub in Golden Glades. And this is a multimodal transportation facility that improves connectivity between various transportation modes. It actually provides great connections now, not only for vehicles to be able to park and use our system, our Metro Rail system, but also Tri-Rail and alike. And we're building out additional bicycle and pedestrian connectivity to this facility. So there's about 2,100 parking spaces. Always it's bittersweet when we have so much parking, but it's necessary when we provide that parking for individuals to be able to park their car and take another mode of transportation to get them to where they need to go. We're focused on making sure that all of our infrastructure is going to be electrified and modernized, and creating electric vehicle charging stations at this facility was critical to its success. And then also, it's more about making sure that we create infrastructure that provides folks comfortable ways to be able to wait for their mode of transportation moving forward. So we're very excited about this project, and you saw the before and after pictures. It just had a soft opening back in January of this month, and there will be an official grand opening in March. The next project that I want to make mention of is the fact that we are very interested in ensuring our transportation system is supported by transit-oriented development, and this is an example of one of our TODs, which is the link at Douglas Station. This is a rendering that you see here on the top right. We're going to be maximizing all of our real estate from a perspective of building out these types of developments to be able to support transit and do what we should have been doing to begin with in the county, which is providing good housing options around transit so we can have a supportive system. The next project, which we're very proud of, and this is, as you are going through your Slido, this is project number 3. It will be award-winning, right, Carlos? Yes, so this is our downtown bike lane project. We call this project as a part of our micro-mobility network that we are building out throughout the county. We currently are implementing 3 miles of micro-mobility lanes or bike lanes, and this is a particular important one because this is a unique design that we've implemented on 5th and 6th Streets downtown. So if you get an opportunity, take a quick walk around, or take Metro Mover actually take it to Overtown and get off and get on 5th Street, and you will see a design that really accommodates and makes the street much more safe for cyclists and alike, and makes the opportunity to provide better connections for pedestrians and higher level of design that you will see that we otherwise have not been able to develop and implement in the past. So we're excited about that. Again, vote number 3. Go Connect is a unique service that we instituted back in 2020, and actually not a lot of people know about this. And I really want to highlight the fact that this is a unique on-demand service that we apply in a zonal basis where we have Dadeland South, Miami, West Kendall, Cutler Bay, Civic Center, and the like, where this is an on-demand service. And yes, yes, this is an on-demand service that you can actually call up a ride and be able to get you to where you need to go within these respective zones. So we are going to be aggressively promoting this more, and you'll see us take a look at expanding this service throughout so we can have that supplemental on-demand transportation that's available to folks as opposed to just relying on our core Metrobus system. Go Nightly is a program that we instituted as a part of being more nimble during the pandemic stage. This was a program that was set up because we realized during the height of the pandemic there were quite a few workers that still needed to be able to get to their places of employment. And we struggled because we had to suspend service from 12 p.m. or 12 a.m. to 5 a.m. On our major routes. And so instead of not providing our typical transit or Metro bus service, we decided to partner with Uber and Lyft to provide that supplemental mobility service. So the folks that could not be able to hop in their car still had a transit option to get to their place of employment. And so we ended up having a very good and very successful Go Nightly program. We did end up closing that in the fall of 2021, but we learned as a department that we could be nimble and still provide those mobility types of services moving forward. Also, for the ease of using our service and network really relies on the fact that you should be able to pay for our transportation system with whatever is on your person, which means that whether it's a digital wallet, stored value, any other type of mode where you have the ability to pay or have a transaction from a monetary standpoint, you should have the ability to do so. And so we instituted what is called contactless payment, where now through your phone, if you have a digital wallet set up, you can go ahead and tap your phone on our fare gates, as well as if you have a digital wallet or any type of other method to be able to pay, you can do so and just not rely on our card-based system. The couple other projects I want to make mention of, and then I will get ready to wrap up here in the next minute that I have. One is our Better Bus Network. This is a project that we actually ended up relying on the community and the advocacy groups, particularly Transit Alliance, to actually come up with the Better Bus project, which really demanded high-frequency service through our network. We translated the Better Bus project into the Better Bus Network, where we condensed the number of routes. We went back to what should be the general bus stop spacing and focused on higher frequency routes throughout the county so we can get more people to where they need to go. So we're excited about this. We did get the go-ahead from the Board of County Commissioners back in October, and we're working to hopefully implement that very soon. And then the last project I'll make mention of very quickly is the Underline project, which again, this is a gem of this county and needs to be recognized nationally as one of the best ways to utilize a traditionally underutilized space, which is essentially creating a park-like environment under our guideway. We completed the Brickell backyard back some time ago, about 18 months ago. We are advancing phase 2 to completion here in the next couple of years, and then we're getting ready to kick off phase 3. These are just some of the elements that you see: more play spaces, more activation, and not only does it create a great environment for people to enjoy it outdoors, but it also attracts people to our system. And so we're very excited about this, and this is the way that we can adapt and be much more resilient. I'm a little bit over time, but I'll just leave it at this one aspect here. We get all excited about service and projects, but at the end of the day, it really is about people. It's about the people that we serve, and it's about essentially the people that we serve that demand change. And then it's about the people that are responsible for implementing the change. And when you do those two things, hopefully you get acceptance of the change, because change is very difficult. And so we talk about adaptive and resilient streets. What we also need is adaptive and resilient leaders, and people are in positions to be able to challenge the status quo. And when the going gets rough, be in a position where all of you support those leaders so they can stand on their square and not be knocked off and do the right thing. Because nobody likes change, but the whole hallmark of being a leader and being Eileen Higgins, as you know, you're going to get challenged on that. And it's important that we support adaptive and resilient leaders so we can build a resilient and adaptive infrastructure and transportation system. So thank you.
Thank you, Eulois. Amazing innovation, great big ideas. And Eulois, I don't know about you, but as Gabe was saying earlier, we have FHWA Florida Division Administrator here, James Christian. So we got, that funding and FDOT, Danny Iglesias, thank you very much. So we're very excited. Amazing ideas. Thank you. So I'm here to bring it to the next level and really talk about going from these amazing ideas and executing them more to the project level and how we are partnering, Eulois and I and our board members, Commissioner Higgins, who is the chairwoman of one of our critical task forces. This is very unique. Launched just this year, the TPO chairman, Gilbert, created these very specific task forces, urban mobility and non-urban core mobility, in order for us to really face head-on those challenges that we all know that we have, that we've been talking about so well this morning, at the pedestrian, bicycle, micro-mobility level. How are we going to deal with these? So the urban task forces set forth to deal with these issues head-on. We wanted to find out how we could implement them quickly, so accelerated project development, and what kind of issues we face during project development to help us innovate and deliver these projects quickly. So we're very excited to share a wide variety and broad. We were very broad in the type of projects. We have age-friendly pilot projects. We have new and innovative technology. We have very unique pedestrian treatments that we've been able to deliver, as well as transit connectivity. And last but not least, and I'd like to recognize Ms. Maria Nardi, our Parks Director, for the Safe Routes to Parks, the Mayor's initiative, which was the first of the Safe Routes to Parks to be delivered through the task force, through Chair Higgins' task force. This doesn't happen alone. As I mentioned earlier, Eulois and I working very closely, but our federal partners, FHWA, Florida Department of Transportation, Danny, and all the municipalities, we have to work together as partners. We cannot do this alone. This is not a silo. To the traveling public, transportation, these artificial boundaries, municipal boundaries, county boundaries, my partners to the north, Broward MPO, James, who's here with Greg, Valerie, Palm Beach MPO, these are, invisible boundaries. It should be a seamless transportation. So being able to work on these task forces with multi-agencies and municipalities is what has made the difference. So, as I said earlier, we have the urban and non-urban core task forces advancing everything from dedicated bike lanes, corridor complete streets, to high emphasis crosswalks, to new technology, which we'll be introducing. But I wanted to highlight this project again, Ms. Nardi from Parks and Director Cleckley from Public Works and Transportation, who came together to address an age-friendly project in our task force with Chair Higgins' Urban Task Force, where there was an elderly community and their primary mode is walking, and they were accessing a park through a maintenance roadway, and they were going to the local supermarket down the street with debris blocking the sidewalk and a lack of safe crossings. So Miami-Dade County Director Cleckley stepped in to put in those high emphasis crosswalks. We delivered that. Parks stepped in, created an opening where we could now have our pedestrians accessing safely and creating a park and walk for them. We were able to deliver this through the task force. It's been an amazing project, and we're happy to showcase that. These are some before and after. And yes, if you look at the bottom picture, you will see it's It's actually an elderly woman with a walker that's going into the park in the maintenance yard roadway. You can see how we were able to work with the county to open the fence and create a pedestrian walk and a path that continues. So and it's actively being used. This I'm going to allow our chair of our urban task force, Commissioner Higgins, when she steps up, to really showcase. This was her vision, where we were able to come together thanks to Florida Department of Transportation and Transportation and Public Works and really implement a game changer, a scramble crosswalk. And I'll let her take a deep dive on that, since that was her vision we were able to deliver. And then also the non-urban core areas. Guess what? We're finding that people who live in urban and non-urban core areas have the same basic needs. They want their family to be safe when they're pedestrians, when they're walking. They want accessibility. So we were able to deliver so far in a non-urban core area a high-emphasis crosswalk, thanks again to Miami-Dade County for partnering with us in these areas so we can continue the connectivity, yes, in non-urban core areas. So these are just a sample. We do have them online. One other project I do want to mention, giving credit, is we have to be able to use technology and advance these issues. So working with the state, working with the county, we're able to introduce a pilot, which we're going to have more discussion on, to assist visually and hearing impaired at crosswalks where we know we have a need. So we're the first in the state to pilot this. It's not just about pedestrian and bicycles, but it's transportation disadvantage, special needs, micromobility, all of this coming together. So I'm very excited to share some of this work with you. And at this time, I'd like to introduce the chairwoman of our Urban Mobility Task Force, Commissioner Higgins. Thank you, Commissioner.
All right. Hello, everybody. I'm up here again, although now as myself rather than the chairman of our TPO, Oliver Gilbert. Do I push this here? The tap button. Okay. So I am the chair of the Urban Mobility Task Force, and I hope to work myself out of a job. That's the goal. I've been chairing this now for 3 years because we needed it, and I just want to thank Eileen Bouclé, my partner in pedestrian safety, for having the vision to make sure that we had this through our transportation planning organization, because I think every single person in this room is here because we all know we need to do a better job. Director Cleckley talked about our downtown micromobility network, which we have under construction now. So if you roam around downtown, you're going to see the first ever protected bike lanes in this part of Miami. This did not come without controversy. I had to be on the news in English and Spanish explaining that change is hard and that I didn't really think that what we were going to do was drive our small businesses out of business. And now that I think has calmed down. And this is part of a vision by our mayor and our Department of Transportation and Public Works to create an entire county-wide network of places where people can safely bike. I want to talk to you, I don't know what you see. What do you see when you look at that slide? A bike lane. I see a road diet. So let me tell you a little bit about this project on 22nd Avenue. It's fantastic that we have a bike lane there because it's going to connect to our new underline, right, which is going to go right there. But that street, despite it's got the word avenue on it, there are houses on it. Like, people live there. There's also a little daycare there. And the residents said, people are going really fast on this street. Is there anything that can be done? So we did a speed study. You know how fast people were driving down this residential road? 52 miles an hour on average. And my request had been to the department, I'd like to change the speed limit to 30 miles an hour. And they told me, well, we can't, because people can drive this fast, therefore we can't lower the speed limit. Now, so I'm sure I thought that was the stupidest thing I'd ever heard in my professional career, and also one of the most reckless things I'd ever heard in my career. But, truthfully, they're following the rules. it's 85% of what people can go. That's the minimum we could do. So actually, I just went with the speed limit sign we had, which was, I think, 40 miles an hour, which was already violating those rules. But fundamentally, the rules said that needed to be a 50-mile-an-hour road. And your home and your children could be walking on there. So the only way we could do that was to do a road diet. And we did that road diet by adding protected bike lanes as well to add this biking connectivity. And this is another project, for any of you that's tried a road diet, holy mackerel, the public meetings. I think Carlos was at some. We're going to be blocked in traffic forever. We're never going to be able to get our school kids to work. And as I said to them in the beginning of this phase, all we're doing is painting. Like, if it really doesn't let your kids get to school, we can change the color of the paint back. And guess what? We have no resistance from the neighbors right now because there isn't any more traffic and people are going slower. Because when cars can go 52 miles an hour down a road, the road is over capacity. And so slowness is one of the things we can do to make our neighborhood safer. Eileen Bouclé has talked about this scramble that we've put in Brickell. It's one of our busiest streets. It's Brickell Avenue. We've got pedestrians from 5 in the morning till 2 in the morning. Actually, I don't think our bars close at 2 in the morning, so maybe till 4 in the morning. But we've got human beings crossing all the time there. And this was the first marked scramble we've ever had in our county. I asked, it took me 3 years to make this happen, right? Which is why we need an urban mobility task force, right? But this needs to become the norm. And I am thrilled because we got this amazing commitment from FDOT. This is one of those collisions of kind of disastrous for residents. We got one road that's an FDOT road, we got one road that's a City of Miami road, and we got the county that wants to make this happen. So how do you get all those permitting done? And we've done it, and it's been open, and we have absolutely no complaints about it. Okay, so this slide is another really cool project that we're doing because making streets safe for vulnerable users is not just people outside of cars, but some of our most vulnerable users are the visually impaired or the blind. We also are proud to have Miami Lighthouse for the Blind, which is a world-renowned school here in Little Havana. And so we have just piloted, as a matter of fact, we're out there yesterday testing the technology. In this case, it's an app-based technology that is able to let our visually impaired or blind residents know, did the light just change? Is it going to be changing sooner rather than later? And then also, many of the folks that use this particular school are riding our bus system. So it's all being integrated to pilot this. So this is another example of urban mobility in a way that we may not always think about this. So we'll keep you updated on how the rollout of this has done. So in closing, I just want to say thank you to all of you. Many of the ideas that I have talked about in the county, I have stolen from you. Gabe, I've certainly taken a number of your ideas, and that's why it's important that we get together. Carlos over there, I see, and Niels from the Downtown Development Authority. We're all in this together, and more heads are always better than one. And I'm grateful that you're here driving all of us forward to build the kind of community network we need to be proud of what will be 50 years or 100 years from now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, panelists. Those were great. We have about 10 minutes for questions. So there were a few that came in, so I'm going to try to get to those first. To respect your participation, feel free to add more. If not, I'll make something up. I have a list. So I guess let's start with DTPW. Let's talk a little bit about TOD. So 2 parts. One, how can local governments support transit-oriented development along the system? And the corollary that came in as a comment is, has there been any thought about parking requirements related to TOD and how that can both help the environment and support the transit system if you perhaps reduce the parking requirements?
Right, it's a good question. So we oftentimes at the county work with another department on our land use choices and parking requirements for a lot of our development. So as the RER group, regulatory,
Economic resources.
who knows? We don't even know what that's. Yeah, economic resources, and so we are in constant conversations with in the two departments to figure out better ways to maximize our land use and bake that into our TODs moving forward.
Okay, thank you. This is another comment that came in. Are there, I guess maybe directed to Commissioner Higgins, are there any more road diets on the way? The ambitious crowd.
Wow, any more road diets?
Yeah.
Well, I can certainly tell you one. This is the one I mentioned before that I'm collaborating with our department and also with FDOT, which is we have a joint set of one-way streets on Flagler and First Street Avenue, which carries our buses number 11 and 51, and they are our highest ridership routes, and they carry some of our lowest income residents. And so we are proposing to essentially do a lane diet on each of those roads, which would have a dedicated bus route. We're going to try and build that as a demonstration project, so very quick builds, kind of not a lot of infrastructure moving, and then collect the data over the next year to prove that we're moving our residents more quickly through buses. So some of these road diets are for transit. You saw in the one that I showed, it was for, you're able to do the road diet with cycling. So this would be one where we would be looking to move our transit buses. And part of that goes, one of the reasons that's really important is every time you say you're taking a lane, people are terrified. Or people in cars are terrified, let me rephrase that. But so we need to prove to them that the buses are moving more quickly through that, and I think this is a great way, and it's also a great partnership between the Florida Department of Transportation and Miami-Dade County to test something new and to learn from that for what we can do in other corridors.
Okay. Another comment that came through is general support for scrambles. They call them fun ideas that maybe can be implemented in other places of the county. So success there.
I think there should be scrambles everywhere there are pedestrians, right? I mean, they're not meant for every intersection. As a matter of fact, we have some intersections that the lights are programmed for scrambles, but there's been no markings and paintings and no signage for the pedestrians to know what they're doing. So they look at our lights and think, oh my God, these people don't even know how to program traffic lights, right? Because the pedestrian signals are at different times from the green light and the red light. So part of it is catching up with the manuals about allowing the pavement markings to be approved much more quickly. So, because we can reprogram traffic lights like nobody's business. That doesn't, it's a person at a control center. It doesn't cost money. But the physical markings of that are very, very important. So it can be done. I think we just wanted to prove in doing this at a very high impact intersection that our residents would be happy and that our drivers could understand them. And I feel like we've done that. And that was another great project in cooperation with FDOT. And maybe you have some ideas.
Yeah, sure. I appreciate that, Commissioner. So one of the things that we've really taken a look at is our current traffic flow manual, which is basically the guidelines that we utilize to design our streets. We've re-looked at that to figure out, are we utilizing all the tools to be able to create safer connections and crossings for pedestrians? And the scramble crosswalk idea is one of those adaptations that we're going to make as a part of that manual. So we're excited. We have other opportunities, I'm sure, throughout the county. And now we're baking the actual tool into our traffic flow modification manual to be able to execute on those more effectively.
And just to add to that, is this working? Yes. Just to add to that, in addition, we have a scramble pedestrian crosswalk pilot in our non-urban core task force as well. So the first one that was launched is in the urban core, but we are testing it in the non-urban core area. Just to highlight what Commissioner Higgins was saying, practically, yes, it should be everywhere where there are pedestrians, especially high-demand pedestrians. And as Eulois was saying, looking at the design manual, the TPO was able to work with the Florida Department of Transportation to do the required traffic operations study in an expedited manner. What would normally take a year to a year and a half to study in order to implement, we were able to do in 4 months by being proactive, using the signalization, testing in advance, and actually mitigating ahead of time with variable signage so that we could address some issues in advance before launching the project. So we're very excited about this, and yes, we are testing them in all areas, in urban and non as well.
Thank you. Excuse me. I think this one is directed towards Eileen. How important is it to have elected officials be involved in projects, and how would you recommend to engage them?
Wow, that's a great question. It's really even not, the word important is really is an undertone here, because really our elected officials are our champions. But for our elected officials, we're not able to advance these type of projects and our funding and advocacy for our funding. So our elected officials, like Commissioner Higgins, Chair Gilbert, and other board members that are on the TPO board, truly are the champions of what we're doing here today. I want to make sure that I'm acknowledging the Palm Beach TPA elected. We have a whole table full of elected officials, the mayor, vice mayor, vice chairman, and Broward County MPO. This isn't just one issue. This is all of our issues, and it's our elected officials that champion it. So thank you to our elected officials to allow people like Eulois and I to come forward with these concepts, and that you support us in advancing them.
This is another partnership question, and maybe directed towards Eileen again. How do we take great projects? Oh, wait, no. Wait, sorry. How is the plan to keep partnerships with FDOT when it comes to design construction phase of the Smart Plan projects and other projects?
Well, certainly the project delivery method is still, a part of the process moving forward. Some of the projects that have already been funded and moving forward, I would defer to the county on as the operating agency of transit in Miami-Dade County. It would be their decision what would be the project delivery method. But yes, design, build, operate, maintain, construct, any variety of those projects, as I know the county is interested in exploring anything that would accelerate the SMART plan.
Yeah, correct. The SMART plan is kind of the starting point, but you have to implement the plan, right? So one aspect that we're really looking at as a department is adjusting our processes to figure out better ways to accelerate and deliver our projects. The SMART plan is going to be the initial catalyst to how we're going to restructure ourselves as a department and our project delivery process. And that's going to have cascading effects throughout all of our projects, from micromobility lanes and the like. And so it's great to have a plan. The more difficult part is, how do you get it done? How do you implement it, and how you keep your projects on time and on budget, especially in this environment? So it's a change in philosophy a little bit, but it's necessary for us to be able to meet the goals that are in front of us.
There was an interesting suggestion that came through, is now that we have some bike lanes on the ground in Miami-Dade County, possibly do some economic impact studies, analyze what the tax revenue was before and track it going forward. It might help.
Sounds like a TPO request, so we'll put that in.
I'm looking in the wrong direction.
That's okay. That's okay, Eulois. Pivot to me. That's right. No, we'll work together on that. Absolutely. In fact, we're very focused on all sorts of cost-benefit analysis on a whole variety of projects, including bike lanes, I guess, is the request now. So yes, of course.
Perfect.
Is that our time up signal?
Are we done?
It is a great ring. Okay. Let me see. When are e-scooters coming back to Miami? We have some new mobility questions. Are they? Or should we pass?
Yeah,
Okay, let me just get this one out in the open. Everybody knows my opinion on scooters.
Okay.
The scooters are a mixed blessing, as my mother would say. There's good things about them, and then there's awful things about them. The way they were rolled out in the city of Miami was in my opinion, as a downtown resident and a walker and a person that actually is a user of the sidewalks, was pretty reckless. We had 8 or 9 companies putting scooters wherever the heck they wanted to, and all night long, and reckless. City of Miami, I think, has really come to terms with the fact that they need to have a much more rational approach to this. And then, quite frankly, the scooters are ahead of the infrastructure that we have, right? We don't have yet the bike network, because we talk about these bike lanes, but quite frankly, they're micro-mobility networks, right? I mean, you could be on an electric bike, you could be on your own pedaling bike, you could be on a scooter. And so the faster we build out a micro-mobility network, the more likely it is for the general public to be accepting of scooters. Because right now, in the area where they've been rolled out, they're primarily a tool of the tourists. They are not yet a tool of transportation. And the starting of our micromobility network, by the way, we've just protected the bike lanes on the Venetian Causeway. I mean, this is, we're doing stuff everywhere. That will suddenly make scooters a more humane entry into the transportation infrastructure of our county. Now, there are other people in our county, sitting as my director, who are much more fanatical about scooters, so I'll turn over to him for some more positive remarks.
I've had a lot of experience with the scooter stuff, because before I came here, I was in Denver as well, and we had to deal with the same issue. The only thing I would say is that, to your point, Commissioner, is that this technology and the companies need to understand, if they're serious about mobility, they need to make sure that they provide it as a true transportation mobility option, not as a play for something else. And if you do that, that means that how you manage a program and ensuring that these devices are in areas of need and not just of areas where people just want to use them to joyride or use them as a tourist type of activity, that you force these operators and the companies to abide by those mobility goals from a local jurisdiction. So that's the only thing I would add to this, that you have an opportunity to leverage this new technology, but they don't get to come in and use our infrastructure without making sure that they're meeting our goals. So,
thank you so much, panel. This has been great. I would like to have one final question. Give us some hope. I'll throw it out. Will Miami ever be like Copenhagen?
Well,
Ever.
well,
Can we do
we'll
it?
always have the sunshine and the beaches, and they'll always have snow in the winter. But but besides that, besides our sun and beaches in the winter and their snow in the winter, it's not just an infrastructure issue; it's a mindset. In Copenhagen, they bike during rain, they bike in snow conditions, but they have facilities at both ends. When they arrive at work, there's facilities, there's showers, there's lockers. It's an expectation. They have their bike clothes they wear. They go to work. There's places and infrastructure for them to have that mindset to be able to do it in all types of weather. So we have our rainy season, they have their weather, but it's infrastructure and mindset coming together.
Thank you for giving us hope. Appreciate it. Thank you for the great panel. It's been awesome.